Hansel and Gretel. At the edge of a vast and shadowy forest stood a small wooden cottage where a poor woodcutter lived with his 2 children, Hansel and Gretel. Their days were simple and quiet, yet laughter sometimes warmed their humble little home. But a terrible famine had spread across the land, and every cupboard in the cottage slowly became empty day by day. Night after night, the children fell asleep, wondering whether there would still be bread waiting in the morning. One cold evening, the woodcutter sat heavily at the table and sighed as he stared at the empty cupboard. "We have nothing left," he whispered sadly. "Soon we will all starve." His wife's eyes grew sharp as she spoke of a dreadful plan to take the children deep into the forest and leave them there. The poor father trembled at the thought, but the cruel woman would not let the terrible idea rest. Though the house had grown quiet, Hansel and Gretel were still awake in the dark. Hansel had heard every word spoken by their stepmother in the dark room beyond the door. Gretel began to cry softly, frightened by the terrible fate that awaited them. "Do not worry," Hansel whispered gently. "I will find a way to bring us home again." When the house was finally silent, Hansel crept quietly outside beneath the silver moonlight. Near the house, a small stream flowed quietly, and along its banks, many white pebbles shone softly in the moonlight. Hansel picked up the bright pebbles one by one and filled his pockets as a clever plan formed in his mind. When he had gathered enough, he quietly slipped back into the house and lay down again beside Gretel. The next morning, their stepmother woke them early and handed each child a small piece of bread. Together they walked deeper and deeper into the forest, where tall trees blocked the sunlight. As they walked, Hansel secretly dropped the white pebbles along the path behind them. No one noticed the quiet trail shining softly on the forest floor. At last, their father stopped in a small clearing and lit a campfire, telling the children to stay warm while he went to cut wood. Hansel and Gretel sat close together beside the fire, listening to the faint echo of an axe somewhere in the distance. But the sound came not from their father, only from a branch swaying slowly in the wind. Soon they realized they had been left alone in the deep forest. When the moon rose high in the sky, Hansel gently took Gretel's hand. The white pebbles sparkled along the dark path like a trail of silver lights. All night long they followed the shining stones through the forest. At last, when morning came, they saw the familiar roof of their father's house. For a short while, the family was reunited, and the children were glad to be home. Yet the famine grew harsher than before, and food became even scarcer. Once again, the stepmother whispered her cruel plan in the dark night. This time, she insisted the children must be taken even deeper into the forest. Hansel tried to gather pebbles again, but the door had been locked that night, so he quietly broke his piece of bread into tiny crumbs instead. As they walked through the forest, he dropped the crumbs along the path. He hoped they would guide them safely home once more. When night came again, Hansel searched for the breadcrumb trail he had left. But the forest floor was bare and empty beneath the moonlight. Little birds had eaten every crumb that might have shown the way. Now the children were truly lost in the endless forest. As the children wandered sadly among the trees, a beautiful white bird appeared. Its sweet song seemed to invite them to follow through the forest. Hansel and Gretel walked behind it until they reached a sunny clearing. There, something wonderful and strange stood waiting for them. In the clearing stood a small house made entirely of cakes, sugar, and sweet bread. The windows were made of clear sugar, and the roof looked like golden biscuits. Hungry and amazed, the children began nibbling pieces from the walls. Just then, a strange voice called out from inside the house. An old woman opened the door and smiled with surprising kindness. She invited the hungry children inside and gave them warm beds and sweet food. But her kindness was only a disguise, for she was a wicked witch. Soon she locked Hansel in a cage and forced Gretel to serve her. Every day the witch came to the cage and demanded that Hansel stretch out his finger so she could feel whether he had grown fat enough to eat. But clever Hansel always held out a thin chicken bone, and the witch, whose eyes were dim, grumbled that the boy was still far too skinny. At last, the impatient witch decided she would cook him anyway and ordered Gretel to heat the great oven. Pretending she did not understand, Gretel asked the witch to show her how, and when the old witch leaned forward, she gave a sudden push and slammed the oven door tight. Hansel was freed from the cage, and the children embraced with relief and joy. Inside the witch's house, they discovered chests filled with jewels and gold. The children filled their pockets with sparkling treasures. Then they hurried away from the dreadful house deep in the forest. After crossing the wide river with the help of a gentle duck, Hansel and Gretel continued walking through the forest until the trees slowly began to look familiar. Soon they saw the little cottage of their father standing quietly at the edge of the forest. Their father rushed out with tears of joy and held the children tightly, telling them that their cruel stepmother had died while they were gone. With the jewels they had brought from the witch's house, the family never went hungry again and lived together in peace and happiness.